Welcome back to the Shop Mini RC, everybody. I'm Ken, and today we're going back to this guy. We've got some more Mia stuff to add. We've got our tailpipes, some mud flaps, and we've got some grills, and a belly plate and skid plates for the diff covers, essentially. Skid plate cover and diff plate covers. So, we're going to dive into this and get some more scale accessories on here. See how we do. So I guess first things first, we're going to do the tailpipes or exhaust. Here's all of our hardware. How cool is that? Comes with like a little plate. They also make a set for the Bronco, so if you have the Bronco, you can snag up this for the Bronco. Seems pretty good quality here. It's just going to take some screws, 4 screws, 2 on each side, and then 2 on our Defender, or 4 on our Defender plate, so 8 screws total. We'll get this guy installed, or built, and then we'll get it installed. So I definitely start by putting on the rear plate. It goes on like this, and then you're supposed to bend the plate so that you can put the 2 screws in. So this plate will basically bend. There's a small cutout in it, or not scoring really, it's scored on the back just a little bit, so you can easily just bend it like so. And again, you're using these shorter screws, they're 1.5s, and just screw her in. Ta-da! Now the tailpipes are slightly angled, so make sure you've got them angled downward. I believe these are going to be the smaller screws as well. Yeah. Now when you screw these in, they're pretty tight on the tailpipe side as well, so make sure you try to make it, let's see here, you want it poking out just a little bit so you can line it up, but then make sure that you're, basically because it's threading into the tailpipe, you want to make sure that you're not like, your screw's not halfway through the tailpipe when you start it into here, otherwise you'll have to back your screw out, or it could end up cracking this piece. And that's because it's threading into the tailpipe piece and into the bracket. So again, if you don't have it flush when you start to go into the bracket, it's going to just pull away the tailpipe piece, and you could potentially break it. Or you'll have a giant gap in there. And if that happens, again, just back the screw out all the way. Make sure your tailpipe's flush, your hole's lined up, and then you can go back in and you'll get rid of that gap. Pretty obvious, but for some, they may not think about it, especially newer people. And again, we're all about showing newer people how easy it is to do these upgrades and how rewarding it can be to kind of customize your truck to your own standards, your own setup. It's fun. It's fun to have something that you kind of built, you know. Even though a lot of these are pretty much just ready runs and you're doing basic upgrades, it's still custom, you know. It's still your thing. You did it. You chose those parts. You installed those parts. And then eventually you can go even further and start fabricating your own parts. You know, I've seen a lot of people build chassis out of aluminum. They just go to the local hobby store and buy a sheet of aluminum or Lexan or fiberglass, whatever, and they'll draw out a chassis, cut it out. We haven't done anything like that yet, but I mean, we have no doubt we'd be able to. It's just time. But yeah, I mean, people do that kind of stuff all the time. But you got to start somewhere. So sometimes it's as simple as starting with installing some scale-looking items on your ready to run. It's going to be sweet. I'm excited. All right, let's pop our body off. You can see all of our other Mias upgrades from the previous video. You can check that video out over here. It's got all of our aluminum, all the red aluminum we added. Yeah. So this guy's going to mount right here. And we're going to pull out these 4 screws and then use the supplied longer screws here. Those should be longer. Looks like there's 2 longs and 2 shorter. So we'll see how it fits here. There's no actual instructions, so you just kind of got to feel it out. We're going to get this apart and we'll be back. All right, we got our screws out. The longer screws go in the rear, and then these slightly shorter screws are from the front. So just pay attention to that when you're putting these in. So you're going to use the longest screws on the rear, and then these medium screws in the front. Again, if it starts to push away, your bracket's pushing away, that means you're not lined up, and you need to back it out and try again. So it actually looks like our tailpipes are just kind of pushing on our bumper a little much to be able to line up our bracket easily. And we can force it, but see how the tailpipe's flexing there? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of loosen these screws just a little bit on the tailpipes. Just a tad. I don't know if it's going to matter, but that should help us. So get that longer screw in there. Just make sure when you're pushing up on the bracket and the tailpipe to try to line it up that you don't break it. Okay, because it can flex a little bit. You want to do it. You want to just get it lined up and get your screw in there. Again, don't push too hard though, because your pipe does hit on the bumper. You can also kind of take a little bit of material out of the bumper if you really wanted to, just right here on the inside, just so that the bumper sits, or the tailpipe sits up a little higher in the bumper. I don't know. But you will have to kind of push upward a little bit. Here, I'll show you on the side again. Just a little bit. You can see it flexing. So just don't push too hard. And if you're having issues and it's not lining up, maybe consider taking out some of the bumper. You could also make this hole just a little larger, going upward, right towards on the top part of the bracket. But you shouldn't have to do any of that. It should fit just fine. Mine's fitting just fine. I'm just saying if you're, for some reason, your tolerances are slightly different or whatever, just be aware that your tailpipes will be tight up against the bumper here, which is a good thing, right? You don't want them like hanging too low, then your approach angle or departure angle would be bad news. Let's make sure our body still goes. Yep, everything fits. Nice. Just a little bit of that extra scale detail, right? All right, we're going to do the mud flaps next. So here's our mud flaps. I don't know why the exhaust setup came with so much hardware. I mean, some of that's our stock, right? 4 of those are stock bolts, but like a lot of extra. Interesting. Not that I'm ever going to complain about extra hardware, because you can always use extra hardware. And I love it when companies include extra parts, like these nuts. And sometimes you'll get like extra little bracket pieces or O-rings or ball joints. I love that stuff. Because it adds up over time, and then, you know, when you're trying to do a build or you lose one, you've always got a backup. So here's our hardware for this. We're going to start getting these assembled. Now, when you look at the Mia site, it doesn't show exactly how they're assembled. It looks like the mud flap is just straight on the bracket, and then they have the nuts on the back, but they've included these little smaller plastic bracket pieces. And my logical assessment of where they go would be on top of the actual mud flap, the rubber part. So that way you're actually compressing the rubber flap into the bracket, on the metal bracket and the plastic bracket, and that's what's holding it on, not just the screw heads. Because if you do just the screw heads, and then again, there's no reason to put the bracket on the back side of the metal, because there's plenty of, you know, strength in metal to hold the nuts on there. But the mud flap could pull through the screw, so I think that's kind of why this plastic piece was included. So we're going to put the plastic piece in there, and then we'll go ahead and throw our nuts on here. You can't Loctite this. If you're worried about them falling off, I'd highly recommend throwing some Loctite on there. You can also tighten it down pretty tight. Oh, these have a cover on them. It's like a Lexan cover. Look at that. All right. Oh, nice. Looks better than it did, that's for sure. Sweet. All right, so we'll throw that on there. I suppose you could also use them. Let's see if they line up. You could also use them here. No, they don't line up there. I was going to say maybe they could go on your brackets to push them out further away from the chassis, but no, they don't line up. So they are meant for here. All right, just like that. These angled brackets go on the front, and these squared ones go on the rear. So this is going to go right here, like so. And we've got some big old tires on here, so that sucks that our mud flaps are going to hit our tires. It would be nice if these were slotted so that you could adjust them forward and backward. Because I'd like to move these back just a tad. Now I don't know how that's going to interfere with the body. Let's get it on there and then we'll look and we'll see how that might interfere with the body. Boo! Not the fault of the Meus mud flaps, but our big tires, they're just big. They're big, and so they definitely hit on the brackets. I mean, I kind of expected that because, well, they already hit on the fenders, but it would be nice to be able to move this bracket back just a little bit. So we might try to re-drill some of these so that we can move the bracket back a little further than where it's at right now. You can see it kind of sticks out towards the front a little here. So ideally, it would be a little further back. But you also don't want the mud flap sitting funny because it's hitting on the body and folding or something weird. So we may end up having to... I don't want to change the tires right now, but we may end up having to. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe we just be very careful. I don't know. Let's see if we can move the bracket back a little.
A few moments later.
I tried. Damn it. I tried. This is some hard steel. It's not aluminum, obviously. So we don't have drill bits to go through steel. You have to have some heavy duty, like titanium drill bits. They have titanium oxide coating on them to go through this. I was hoping I could just kind of punch some holes in there and reposition it, but does not look like it. So yeah, we need to either get some titanium or cobalt drill bits to be able to go through here. We almost did, but it's just destroying our bits. So I said, I'm done. Anyway, we'll go ahead and just throw them on the way they are now. I mean, most people aren't going to do that, right? Like, you're not going to have crazy big tires on there. I was just hoping we could easily move it back. Looks like that's not the case. Maybe Meus can give us 2 sets of mounting holes. I think if you were just to do one, you know, the small one, 2 small ones, one right in the center, and then another larger one, and basically just give you 2 positions you can mount, that would be ideal. Because anybody running some big tires, and mind you, these are big, right? These are mudslingers, they're huge. But if you want to avoid any kind of rubbing, you're definitely going to need to move it back just a little bit. And that's just about perfect. Still rub, right? But like, we can at least turn our wheels. Where in the stock position, you pretty much just regular turning is going to hit, even without compression. So, yeah, we're going to throw them on, and we're just going to probably swap out tires, try to get something a little more scale. And that's how the rears go. Be careful not to over tighten, because you'll crack the plastic piece. Oops, that was our fault. We just didn't want them to come off. We should have just used Loctite on the back, and then we wouldn't have to over tighten. Noob mistake. All right, so we're going to pop our screws back out of our tailpipe bracket. Actually, this will be easier to do like so. And like so. Ta-da! Looking good. Plenty of clearance in the rear. It's just the fronts. Alrighty. We'll do the other side. Looking good. We're going to go ahead and do the skid plates. Also, I was able to just bend them back. So we've got a lot more clearance. I mean, it's still going to rub, but we're rubbing on the fenders at that point too. But yeah, you can kind of just bend them back to get a little bit extra space. I just basically kind of pulled them back just a little bit, kind of put a little bit of extra bend in there just to kind of clear it. You can push them in, bend it back just a little. That'll get you a little bit better clearance. Like so. So we're still going to hit, but again, we're hitting the fenders on that anyway, so having them back even further probably wouldn't help too much. Worst case, we can always take off some of this screw as well. Just dremel off the screws, make them slightly shorter, or get some shorter screws. Time to do these skids. Let's get them on there. So that guy's just going to slap on there like so. I'm going to pull out our forward link screws and get this on. We'll be back. So just a little tip, if you're having trouble aligning the second side, just loosen these. Have these be a little looser, back them off so that the skid plate can kind of move around. If you tighten it down too much, you could have issues getting the other side of the screws in. So just go ahead and loosen it up a little bit, and that should help you kind of be able to push down and align the screw a little bit better. One of the cool things about skid plate is it's a harder metal than the aluminum. So it's not going to get gouged by rocks, right? It's going to help slide. This is a steel. So you're not going to, aluminum, especially if you had a brass skid plate, right? Like aluminum and brass are sticky. Well, brass is really sticky. Brass will stick to rocks a lot. So usually you don't want to do brass skid plates or brass links or brass center axles. The center portion, you can do like knuckles and diff covers and stuff, as long as it's not going to hit on rocks. Because if you start hitting on rocks with brass, it gouges very easily and it sticks to the rocks. So having steel is going to be super slick and durable. And the next best thing to, or even better than plastic. A lot of people that do higher level competitions, they still run plastic links and plastic skids because the plastic slides over the rocks very, very easily. And they don't want to add weight that's sprung. Like this is sprung weight, and links are basically a hybrid weight where half of it's unsprung and half of it's sprung. So you want all your weight to be unsprung, right? So on your axles, your wheels, tires, you'd rather it not be rotating, but we do like to put weights in our wheels. So generally, a lot of people end up having rotating mass being heavy, but your knuckles are a huge deal. Your pumpkins, servo tray, servo, anything that's not sprung, you want to kind of get the weight there. And you want to remove as much weight from above that point. So your belly plate, your links, your skid, your all this stuff. Now, we're not so concerned on this one. That's why we've got all the metal on here, because we're doing it more as a trail rig. So we're looking at just getting some basic protection. The only concerns I have with this skid are these front pieces right here. And I kind of want to just dremel them down. Hold on. Yeah, this guy looks like it'll get caught pretty easily on a rock. Let's see if we can just... There we go. It's a little more transition now. See that? Versus on this side, it's just straight. So it would have been nice for them to kind of bring that back or have it tapered in. Now this is just a single piece of steel that's stamped and formed and cut, so it makes sense, but I would definitely recommend trying to smooth this piece out just a little bit. It's on the front, which makes it even worse. If we're on the back, you wouldn't have to worry so much about rocks hitting on it, but being on the front definitely can get in the way. So. All right, so there we go. Took off a little bit. It's way more rounded now. And yeah, that'll be much less likely to grab on rocks. We'll probably do the back here as well. We'll be back. Okay, we went nuts. We basically rounded out all the edges. And yeah, we just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to get caught. And I think it's going to work fine. I think it still looks good. We can do some sanding to kind of clean it up. If we wanted to pop it back off, we could really clean it up and kind of sand it down on the edges and really get it nice and slick. But this is definitely better. It's going to have a lot less things grabbing when we're sliding. So pretty sweet. Time to get these guys on. And these deals here are pretty easy. It's literally just 2 screws. Pop them out the back of the pumpkin. You don't have to take your axles off. You can get your screwdriver in there, and you're good to go. Got a little bit extra protection there. We may end up rounding it out a little bit on the sides here. Probably not. This seems fine. I don't know. The rocks will naturally do it for us, right? All right, let's get this back done, and then we'll move on to the body. I think we got some this and this for the body. I don't know just how we're going to do that yet, because we do have a little bit different body. I mean, it's not totally different, but we don't have the same rear portion, and we'll show you when we get there. Well, let me get this done. We'll be back.
More moments later.
There we go. Front and rear. Pretty cool. It's nice and flat. I dig that. The only concern I have is like getting caught on the sides potentially. So that's where we may round it out, but I doubt it. Would have been nice if these were just tapered just a little. Just a slight bend, but that'd be hard with this bend here, so It is what it is, but I dig them. They're tough. I mean, they're steel, so should be good. All right, moving on. And now we're going to look at the body stuff. We've got these meshes and grills. So let's see what they're about. So it looks like each piece comes with double-sided sticky tape, so you can just use the sticky tape to hold it on. So it'd be something like this. No, like this. There you go. That way you don't have to put screws in if you don't want to. Now, mind you, it's probably going to look a little funny without the screws. So you'll probably want to put the screws in. I just don't know how I feel about screwing into this body, but these are pretty cool looking panels and grills, so I don't know. Kind of surprised this one isn't cut out for the snorkel, but maybe you're supposed to remove the snorkel first. So we'll look at that. This is pretty easy. You can see on this side we've already got one installed. Basically, you just use the double-sided sticky tape, or you can use the screws. So these little tiny screws are super tiny, but they're pointed so that you can screw into the plastic. And basically, you can just kind of peel off your backing. There's double-sided tape on there. You can just go ahead and stick it down on. Make sure you're pressed all the way to the back. And if you want, you can use the tiny screw. If you don't want to, the double-sided tape should hold. I don't know for sure as we're screwing it down, but I would assume the tape will definitely hold it unless you get it wet. Oh man. All right. So getting these screws on with the camera right in front of my face. All right, let's try this. So you are going to have to press down fairly hard to get the screw started. But then once it's in there, it's not really self-tapping per se, but you don't have to press quite as hard. It's just getting it in that first thread. And there you go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do the rest, and we'll do the hood next. Go ahead and do the hood now. There's a little bit of curve here. You want to make sure you're curving in, so you can just bend it down. Okay. And then these guys just go on top, like so. You may want to try to sand, or I don't know if an X-Acto will work, but you can try to just sand down the, if there's little burrs on there, or this little piece here, if you want to be real anal about it. Just grab some sandpaper and get rid of that. All right, go ahead and screw this in, and yeah, we'll show you when we're done. Okay, we've got this side done. You can see I actually colored in underneath. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but it just looked yellow, right? And that's not really what the vents are about, right? They should be down into the engine bay, or at least into the fenders, right? So they would normally not be body color underneath there. So we colored it in black. We can go ahead and get this one done. And we just used a Sharpie. I mean, quick and easy. Just Sharpie it out. Doesn't need to be perfect because you can't really see under there anyway. The bright yellow makes it obvious. If it were like blue or a darker color, probably wouldn't have to do that or want to do that. You don't have to do it, but that looks much better, I think. All right, let's get our screws in. I just wanted to point out that if you support the back of these, you like push with your fingers on the back as you're screwing in, better than just trying to screw it in like this, you know, straight onto a table or something. Support it with the back, and then you can push pretty hard on there, and then the screws will go in much, much easier. You just want to make sure you're not like over tightening and stripping it out or slipping before you get the hole started and scratching the body or something. But you definitely will have a little bit easier time if you can actually put some pressure on it by supporting the back of it, right? You can see how hard I'm pushing. But it definitely goes in much, much easier. We did have to pop the snorkel out to slide that under. I forgot to point that out. But yeah, you can just kind of pop it out from the back side and then just pull it away just to get enough space to be able to slide it underneath the snorkel. Okay. The last bits are these. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to use them. They're supposed to go right here on the back. But they're going to end up covering our Land Rover stickers. So we're not going to use them. We'll put them on. We have another Defender body. We'll probably put them on there at some point. So these guys will be for later. The next set is this. And these parts, also some of these will not be used because we chopped our back. And these are meant for the windows. These are the side windows here, which we no longer have. And then these three are the rear windows, which we have here. So we're going to try to get these on here. This might be rough. This might actually be kind of rough because of the body here. Getting our screwdriver down in there to try to screw on those without scratching up our body. We'll see, we'll see. But these are just screws, so I'm not going to show you all that. We'll see if we can get them on there, and I'll show you when we're done. So we decided we should just use this thing. We've got it. We got a link down in the description below. It's our powered screwdriver. Man, this makes this so much easier. We got all these in with this. It also lets us get down low without having to worry about scraping up the bed. Over in the sides here. You can even get down in the sides here. And we got a little light. So I'll just show you. It's pretty slick. We've already got these started a little bit, but simple as that. Oh, sure, enough. This guy here needs a little more. And then this guy over here needs a little more. How sweet is that? This little guy is awesome. We usually only use it to like unscrew our wheels, all of our bead locks. And unscrew the bead locks pretty quickly. You just got to be careful not to let it over tighten and strip stuff out. So just be aware because there's no way to set like a torque or anything. But yeah, definitely worth checking out. Again, if you want to pick one, they're like 20 bucks, 25 bucks, something like that. It's in the description below. They're on Amazon. Pretty easy. All right, so there we go. There's that. There's that. Yeah, and there we go. All this is by Meus Racing. We're going to have to weather some of this up. We'll probably just wash it a little. Not wash, but like use wash on it. Some brown wash and kind of make it look dirty. Our weathering's not really matching with our brand new shiny diamond plate, so figure we're going to have to kind of re-dirty it up. Maybe we'll just go drive it in some actual dirt. We'll see. We'll see. Pretty slick looking, though. I dig it. You get tons of hardware with this stuff. I mean, we didn't even open up the second bag. We just used everything that came with the first set. We'll probably end up using these on something else at some point, so they were not going to go to waste. But yeah. Tell us what you think down in the comments below. What parts were your favorite parts of this? I really like the tailpipes and the mud flaps. They're pretty fun. They also make this stuff for the Bronco, so definitely check it out if you've got a Bronco. And yeah. Why don't you put down in the comments below if you're watching this whole video and you made it all the way to the end here, put Meus scale. Meus scale. And yeah, because we got a lot of scale stuff on here. Looking good. All right, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, do all those things you do at the end of a video you like, and I appreciate y'all watching. We will be back with some more stuff, so keep an eye out. All right, see you next time.